key determinants in the maximal allowance of environmental toxin intake. Case study of the Plastimet Fire in Hamilton, Wentworth, July 1997. Between July 9th and 12th, 1997, the biggest industrial fire in Hamilton's history rumbled through the sky. The industrial site of the fire was occupied by Plastimet Inc. tenant Plastics Recycling Facility. When the fire broke out, Plastimet facility had 4 out of 11 fire code violations still outstanding since they were identified the previous October. Lack of installed sprinklers and over-the-limit accumulation of plastics had intensified the blaze. The fire at the Plastimet facility was the largest plastics fire in Canadian history, visible as far away as Niagara Falls and Toronto. It was so spectacular from the escarpment that the suburban residents set up lawn chairs, beer coolers, to watch the blaze down below. Not so relaxed were the North End residents, who rushed inside to close windows and hide away from the poisonous black fog which carpeted the neighborhood and made it difficult to even breathe. The burning of plastic bales became a self-mutating monster of flames, perfectly created to withstand standardized firefighting techniques to extinguish the blaze. Heat of the flames rose to 507 degrees Celsius, causing the plastics to self-ignite and decompose into simpler compounds, creating byproducts which were highly toxic and flammable. The melting of polyvinyl chloride plastics, PVC, are known to release hydrochloric acid, carbon monoxide gas, vinyl chloride, heavy metals, polysalicylic aromatic hydrocarbons, benzene, and cancer-causing dioxin and furans when they burn. The elevated levels of these toxins were recorded by the Ministry of Environment and Energy (MOEE) from the dark plumes of smoke. Ultimately, this proved to be a daunting challenge for firefighters. There was unfortunately inadequate hazardous material equipment provided. The training and planning, like evacuation strategies, were not advanced enough to cope with a fire of this nature and magnitude. The toxins enveloped not just the city's air quality, but permeated the city's water supply and foliage. Plastimet Fire was uniquely dangerous, having been the worst environmental industrial fire involving PVC among other toxins. First, key players took different directions of initiative. Ultimately, they could not cope with this unexpected disaster of this magnitude. Equipment to measure toxins in air quality, soil, and water were not measuring the accurate areas, making this ineffective. The accessibility of equipment provided by the provincial government Ministry of Environment and Energy acted slowly, making responses inefficient. Interpretation of toxin levels translated into risk levels, in which regional evacuation depended on, was inadequate. Also, the MOEE's attitude was negligent towards health risks in residents, businesses in the areas, firefighters, and environments, stating that the contaminants remained within acceptable levels. Greenpeace pushed heavily to recognize this as an environmental disaster of large proportions. July 12th, Environmental Ministry reports that the smoke contains benzene 15 times more than the background level. Secondly, the aftermath of the environmental disaster transferred into the legal arena. The primary legal concern was to pin the responsibility of the fire on someone. This was to cope directly with the compensation and cost of cleanup, as well as short and long-term health issues, especially concerning the firefighters and the people in the area. The other legal concern was what evidence of toxin levels introduced in court were then used to reinterpret risk. Thankfully, Brian McCary and colleagues from McMaster Chemistry Department recorded and analyzed extensive air, water, and soil samples taken during and post-fire. The preventative actions translated into the formation of new environmental policies of industrial sites and closer analysis of air quality. In the legal forum, Plastimet Inc. fire case is closed. However, recognition of this difficulty and bravery made by Hamilton firefighters in the unexpected disaster continues to echo throughout the firefighting community. Even the media coverage was successful in carrying out the task of public awareness environmental issues. Also, the City of Hamilton presently produces reports consistently on the air quality control, accessible to the public. Air monitoring stations are now better equipped and representative for Hamilton. The provincial and federal government work now more closely at environmental policies and risk monitoring. This October 2010, CBC released an hour-long documentary reliving the Plastimet disaster through the reflections of Hamiltonians. It also explicitly highlights irreversible and preventable mistakes. This documentary, as well as other books and articles post-disaster, provide a little more closure for the victims. More particularly, recent literary works on Plastimet helps us to see the direction in which we are following to protect the environment from future catastrophes. Research on numbers used and interpreted into the Plastimet Fire reveals how much we have and have not improved